Hi, welcome. My name is Chrissy, and today I'm going to be giving you a global world reading for January 2022. I can't even believe it's nearly January. It's New Year's Eve here, so I thought I'd shoot this video just for anyone around the globe who's just wanting change in their life, I guess is probably the word I'm looking for. We've all had an interesting 2021, so I'm just going to close my eyes and we'll just get started. I'll just let my guides channel through and I'll get the messages to you. Now they're showing me like the washing machine, so there's all this turbulent energy and the washing's going round and back around and then back around, and it's almost like the cycle's never finishing, so it feels like we're always like a wrung out dish rag. We're going round and round, and I think this is in most countries out there. We feel like we're just going around and then back around, and it's like the washing's not getting clean. We're kind of just rehashing and rehashing and rehashing, but the message that I'm getting is that we will be triumphant in the end. So they're showing me kind of pegging all the washing on the line, and the washing's flowing through the breeze, and everything's white and it's all like new again. So I feel like there's a lot of this rejuvenation starting, and there's a lot of it's even showing me like folding that washing and putting in the cupboard, which is like, to me, the analogy is that we're organizing our lives again. So I feel like what was sort of tumbling around in the washing machine and the dryer and all this sort of chaos energy will now start to be cleaned, purified and organized and put away. Now this is to do with the way that we're living. Life has not been normal for the past 2 years, and I feel like we are going to have moments where it's still going to continue like that, but we're also going to have a lot of time where things now start to get organized. At the moment, I really believe that a lot of places are living a very rigid and uncomfortable life. Around the globe, there is just so much turbulence that it's almost like things have to stop at some point. Things can't just keep going around and around and around and around. And you have to trust and you have to focus into fruition now that your life starts to stop, and that someone switches that machine off and your life starts to get organized. And they're saying to believe and trust in that journey. So whatever you're being fed is just what you're sort of seeing and visualizing. So what the message is that you can actually change things. So sometimes we feel like we don't have any say in things and we can't change things, but we all have a voice and we all have that thought process of our own. So going forward, in January, it's like, well, you do have the power to move forward yourself. You don't have to just sit there and just fold your arms and kind of switch off and say nothing. You can open yourself up, get your life moving forward, make strong decisions. That's something that's coming up a lot, is about making really good, strong decisions in January. I feel like if you're wanting to get up and you're wanting to make a change and create a real movement, then go and do that. A lot of people out there, I feel like, are frightened, they're hesitant, they're full of fear, and they are scared to face their world, because what is happening is it does not feel real. So people do not feel like what is happening at the moment is real. Now there's some people who love that regimented lifestyle and they like that concrete sort of organization because that makes them feel safe. But there's a lot of people out there who do not want to be dictated to anymore, and I really feel that this, I've talked about it before, this resistance that's coming up is actually not a bad thing, because it causes people to rise up. And I mean rise up in all avenues of our life. This is about banding together. It's about coming together. I feel like January is a time where people are really wanting to reconnect. They're wanting to reclaim their lives back. I truly believe that life will not be the same, but life can be the same but different. So we can still have experiences that we want to create. They might be slightly different, but we can also have the things that make us feel good inside. And this is about that reconnection and that journey of having hope, having faith, having desires, having a will to make changes as well. I mean, there's no point just going, oh, I'll let everybody else just take charge and they can sort my life out and I'll just sit here. because that's not how life works. Life, you've got to be engaged in life. In order to make changes, you have to engage and plug in. Otherwise, you're going to get a different reality than other people are creating over here. So you've got to kind of decide. You're at a crossroads. I really believe in January. A lot of people around the globe now are at a crossroads in their life, and it's a time to make really big decisions. Now, there's some really big mass movements going on around the globe, and I talk about this a lot. I think Belgium, Austria, Germany. I don't even know what's happening in the UK. They've just, I think, sort of lost the plot at the moment. America's struggling. Here in Australia, we've certainly had turbulent times. We've had the Omicron, and that's waving through the whole of like New South Wales where I live. And it feels just exhausting. And so come January, people are just wanting to sort of hop off. They're wanting to just have a break from, it's the bombarded energy. People are not tolerating things anymore, and I've talked about that before, about banding together, holding arms, uniting, and making that united front. There is strength in numbers, and there is power in our voices and our movement forward. Now, sitting back is just a non-event. It's just sitting back is not going to make changes. So if you're happy with the status quo, that's fine. In January, you can just sit there and just let it all, everything sort of collapse around you, because that is what is going to happen. If you don't start to make changes, if you don't stand for people, if we don't stop all this discrimination, segregation, and things like this, we're going to be stuck there, and they're going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and it's not going to stop. And our children going forward, that's not a fun life for anybody. We don't want our kids to be told what to do, where they can sit at the movies, where they can't sit. This is what's going to happen. So it's very important that people start to get their voices heard now. And I talk about that constantly. But this is very important in January, to band together and let your voice be heard. I really believe that people really hide how they feel. They are really frightened. People are very frightened of what's kind of coming at them. And that's not a nice feeling. When you're frightened, you think, but if I did that, I could be put in jail, or if I did this, I could receive a fine. Now, that's not freedom. And I think anyone who's watching this video, you know that's not freedom either. So we want to live in a democracy where things are fair and we have say and input into our lives. So for anybody out there around the globe, you've got to just really fight that fight and that battle. Stay strong, stay on the path. Yes, you might feel excluded, and people can feel excluded in all different ways. It's not just around the virus. People are being excluded for the society they're living in at the moment, and I think we can all see that. There's them and us. I mean, on the news here in Australia, I can tell you now that the only places that we hear about the high sort of virus numbers is in the lower socioeconomic areas in the middle class. I have never heard about an upper class in, for example, Sydney, having any of the virus, which we know would be totally untrue, but it is never reported on the news. So they're making clear separations now. So this is not just about vaccinations. It's not just about discrimination and who you are. This is about every walk of life now is being affected by the things that are being introduced. I actually heard here that they're putting nurses and things back on apparently, because the hospitals here have gone into such shortage because they mandated the vaccines and then they lost a heap of nurses. And while you would do that in a pandemic, 1 minute they were heroes, next minute they were putting them all off, and a lot of them left. So there's so much sort of confusion, and I'm sure that's happening in the countries that you're living in. Please leave comments down below and tell me. But January is going to be a time for really standing up for ourselves in all avenues of life. We don't want to be all separated. That's just not healthy. We need to be on that more even playing field, and we need to start respecting each other as well. It almost feels like we're in some sort of like kindergarten game where there's like people are having like temper tantrums. It's almost like someone took someone's toy And so they're mad at them because they took the toy and they're having a temper tantrum because of that. So there's still all this hostility, and this hostility has been created amongst us. We haven't created it. This has come from higher up. They wanted these things to happen. They want us to separate and divide. You have to question, why is hospitality, the pubs, all these kind of restaurants and things like that, coffee shops, why have they been so targeted? And that is because they do not want us socially mixing. They do not want social situations. They've limited the density limits in our houses and our homes. So you have to question, why are these things happening? So these are the things, right around the world that we have to look at now. Well, that's been pretty targeted. For example, I'm not vaccinated here and I still can't go into my local RSL club, even for a meal with my kids, because they're continuing the passports. So how does that work? Does this go on forever? So these are the things we've got to kind of look at and fight for in January. And I really believe, if you're watching this video, that that's how you're feeling as well. And come January, we've really got to stand up and we've got to start to all really protect ourselves and look out for each other now, because what they're doing and what they're creating is just unhealthy. There's too much separation and too much divide. So look, let me know where you're watching this video from. I'd love to hear from you guys and what your experience is. There's certainly been a lot happening here in Australia. Have a great January, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe.